Hello and welcome to the End of Days channel. This is my new series, The Devil's in the Details. This week we are discussing the devil or Satan in the music business. Remember, all of this is alleged. The myth of Robert Johnson, the legendary blues musician, is one of the most enduring tales in music history, centered on the idea that he sold his soul to the devil at a Mississippi crossroads in exchange for extraordinary musical talent. Robert Johnson, born May 8, 1911 in Hazelhurst, Mississippi, was a Delta blues guitarist and singer who rose to prominence in the 1930s. The Crossroads myth likely stems from a blend of African-American folklore, Christian imagery, and Johnson's own mysterious persona. The story goes that Johnson, a mediocre guitarist in his early years, disappeared for a time and returned with prodigious skill, leading locals to whisper that he'd made a pact with the devil at a rural Mississippi crossroads, often cited as the intersection of highways 61 and 49 in Clarksdale. In exchange for his soul, he supposedly gained unmatched musical talent, only to die young as part of the bargain. There's no direct evidence that Johnson made a supernatural deal. However, his music and life provide clues that fueled the legend. Johnson's songs, like Crossroad Blues from 1936, Me and the Devil Blues from 1937, and Hellhound on My Trail from 1937, contain imagery that resonates with the myth. In Me and the Devil Blues, he sings, "Early this morning when you knocked upon my door, and I said, 'Hello, Satan, I believe it's time to go.'" These lyrics, rich with metaphor, reflect the blues tradition of invoking the devil as a symbol of struggle, temptation, or societal oppression, not literal occultism. Crossroad Blues describes a man at a crossroads pleading for salvation, interpreted by some as a nod to the soul-selling narrative, though others see it as a metaphor for racial and personal vulnerability in the Jim Crow South. Contemporaries like Son House and Johnny Shines noted Johnson's rapid transformation from an average musician to a virtuoso. House recalled Johnson as a little boy who couldn't play well before leaving town, only to return with astonishing technique. This fueled speculation, though it's likely Johnson practiced intensely, possibly under the tutelage of mentors like Ike Zimmerman, with whom he lived for a time in Beauregard, Mississippi. The crossroads motif draws from African-American and West African folklore, where crossroads are liminal spaces associated with spiritual forces like the Yoruba deity Eshu or Legba, trickster figures tied to choices and fate. Combined with Christian notions of the devil as a tempter, this provided fertile ground for the myth. Johnson, aware of these traditions, may have leaned into them to craft a compelling stage persona. Johnson died on August 16, 1938, near Greenwood, Mississippi, under murky circumstances. The most accepted account, based on oral histories, suggests he was poisoned, possibly with strychnine, by a jealous husband after Johnson flirted with his wife at a juke joint. Other theories include syphilis or pneumonia, but no autopsy was performed and no death certificate has been found. His young age and sudden death fed the narrative of a cursed life, as if the devil had come to collect. Like many artists, Johnson may have played up the devil imagery to enhance his mystique. Blues musicians like Petey Wheatstraw, who called himself the devil's son-in-law, used similar tactics to stand out in a competitive field. Johnson's haunting voice, intricate guitar work, and enigmatic personality made such stories believable to audiences. The idea of trading integrity for success echoes the Faust legend, resonating with audiences who see fame as a double-edged sword. In the music industry, where exploitative contracts and moral compromises are real, the soul-selling metaphor feels apparent. The Johnson myth continues to influence pop culture and discussions about the music industry. On X, posts often reference the crossroads when discussing artists who rise quickly to fame or die young, perpetuating the idea of a price for success. The myth also inspires music, from Cream's cover of Crossroads to Metallica's The Call of Cthulhu, which nods to Johnson's eerie legacy. Robert Johnson's influence on music, particularly blues and rock, is profound, with many famous artists drawing inspiration from his raw, emotive style and the mystique of his Crossroads legend. Below, I'll identify notable singers and guitarists who modelled themselves after Johnson, focusing on their stylistic or thematic connections to his work, and address whether there's evidence they visited the Clarksdale Crossroads, Highways 61 and 49, a site tied to the myth of Johnson's alleged deal with the devil. I'll ground this in historical accounts, musical analysis and available sources, avoiding speculation about unverified visits or supernatural claims. Eric Clapton, Bob Dylan, Jimmy Page, Peter Green, Jack White and Muddy Waters are among the most prominent artists who modelled their music or persona after Robert Johnson, drawing on his guitar techniques, vocal style or mythic aura. Only Dylan has explicitly referenced visiting the Clarksdale Crossroads, though his statement is vague and likely symbolic. For others, no definitive evidence confirms visits to Highways 61 and 49, though their deep ties to the blues and the Delta suggest familiarity with the site. The Crossroads remains a powerful symbol, more rooted in cultural imagination than verifiable history, much like Johnson's own legend. I leave it up to you, the viewer, to decide what you believe or not, but to me, it's a little more than just a coincidence. Thanks for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please be sure to like the video and subscribe, it's free. And please share the video if you can. It helps go out to more viewers to get this channel in the algorithm. Thanks in advance, friends. Shalom.